Let's hit the ignition switch, everyone, on another edition of Matchday -1. We are back again. The games are coming thick and fast here at St. David's Performance Centre. Matchday -1, presented by PointsBet, your founding partner of Austin FC. Mr. Michael Lahoud, Mr. Adrian Healey in the house. We're back, Michael. We got a lot to look forward to with the Nashville encounter to preview on Saturday nights. Little road trip for our Verde and Black boys. Let's start, though, with something we're going to have to call the aftermath. We would have loved to have called it the after party, but after the elation of Friday night against LAFC, a little bit of frustration perhaps on Wednesday night, but it just seems like a game where we could have been talking about the after party. It was like everything they did was spot on for that first 30 minutes against the Timbers, other than just not quite scoring the first goal.
It's always so difficult when there's a weather delay and the game starts 2 hours after it's supposed to. The mentality has to be there. And for Austin FC, in the first 30 minutes, the mentality was spot on. Maxi Ruti in particular, Sebastian Driussi, Diego Fagundes, Ethan Finley, who I thought had a brilliant game. They were off the mark frequent and often, but just that final touch wasn't there, and it just wasn't to be in the end of the night.
Yeah, we wondered how the delay would affect everyone, including the crowd, who were fantastic, by the way. More on that to come. But they came out of the traps flying, Michael. The players with some pent-up energy there. And honestly, if they got that breakthrough goal, you feel like it could have been, a whole succession of quick strikes, a la first two home games of the season, a la early stages, the second half of LA. It had that feel to it. We just forgot to score that first goal.
You could see the confidence, the spillover effect from the LAFC match. Diego Fagundes, set pieces. I thought his delivery was spot on. Alex Ring had that chance to hit off the bar. Ethan Finley, even the redirected pass comes shot by Fagundes. If he puts it anywhere other than right at the keeper's arms, I think the keeper got lucky. Ivicic had himself a worldie of a game. A lot of luck on his side, and so unfortunate for Austin FC to not break the deadlock early on, because I think Portland had that in the back of their minds of, let's keep this tight, let's compete, and let's hit them on the counter. And the game was down to two things: set pieces and transition moments. And I thought Portland did well. You have to give credit to your opponents, what they do well when they win. Portland executed on set pieces, and that was the difference on the night.
Yeah. So a bit of a smash and grab raid from the Timbers. 3 precious points for them. We pick ourselves up. We go again, still in great shape. A couple of other things to touch on from Wednesday night. Emiliano Rigoni, our first look at him, playing close to 30 minutes. What was your first assessment of our newest DP, Michael?
He's an out-and-out winger. He has the flexibility to play different positions. We've seen that in his resume and his repertoire. He can play in the middle. He can play on either flank. But that two-footedness is what I really like. His service. It's going to take time. And Josh Wolf talked about this in his presser. Whenever a player comes in, the timing of Rigoni coming in, this is the business end of the season within a team that is pushing for the playoffs near the top of Major League Soccer. It's going to be a bit of an onboarding process off the field and on the field. But when he gets going, his service is going to be crucial for Austin FC, because playoff games or playoff implication games, set pieces are a difference maker.
You can already tell that left foot is something else. Just a couple of early examples of it in the Portland game. Just the smoothness of that delivery. But he hits a ball with pace as well, doesn't he? Accuracy and pace.
A lot of whip. A lot of what you see around the world in Europe. I think I'm a big fan of the Premier League as well. A lot of whip where that ball whips around the defender, and he's looking beyond the first defender just because he has that sort of skill on the ball, something he's been practicing his entire career.
Yep. Just the one goal on the night on Wednesday. It came from who else? Sebastian Driussi. Make that 2-0. 20 for him now. And he was probably watching Hani Mukhtar, wasn't he, in the locker room? I know the players were watching the other games with the delay and saw Mukhtar score a hat-trick, and he needed to get one to stay ahead in the Golden Boot race.
Well, sometimes you need that little impetus, that little competition, that spark. Going back to when Sebastian Driussi went on this tear, it was another potential MVP candidate in NYCFC's Valentin Castellanos. That they were neck and neck. Castellanos leaves to go to La Liga, and Driussi seizes the moment and says, you know what, this is my league. I can do this. I'm going to take responsibility. It's a team game. It's a team sport. Austin FC have a team ethos, but Sebastian Driussi has been taking the league by storm. And in a close match like that, just talking to him before practice, he talked about how he remembered a moment against Montreal where he had a header in a similar situation, and just the ingenuity, the thoughtfulness of that, of saying, I didn't get it right in that moment. Let me correct that and execute in a game like this against Portland.
Yeah, and he even had a similar header in the first half, didn't he, against the Timbers? One, not quite the same, but he put that just wide. So anyway, he's up to 20, which brings us to the showdown now. It's the only team on our regular season schedule for the Verde and Black that we've not yet played, but get used to nights against Nashville, because there's 2 of them coming in the next 3 weeks, starting tomorrow night. Our first trip to Giadis Park, their brand spanking new home, 30,000 capacity, big home for Nashville. So we got the team narrative, we got the individual narrative, Driussi against Mukhtar as well, is going to be that. That's going to dominate so many of the headlines. We can get into that, but give us your overview of this Nashville team at the moment, their first season in the Western Conference. Remember, we went there last year. Michael and I went there as fans. It was fantastic. That was still when they were playing in the NFL stadium, but they were in the Eastern Conference at that time, and they had a tough time to start off with in the West, didn't they? But they seem to have got it together over the last few weeks.
Nashville's a team that has had this roller coaster of a season, a very solid team last season in the East, a team that we faced, and they're difficult to break down. Defense first is their DNA, and then they have attackers who can hurt you on the counter, and we're going to get into more detail. What Nashville has on their side is they figured it out at home. Before the last 3 weeks, they were struggling to get points at home.
That's right.
When you open a new stadium, there's so much pressure. We did it last year. There's expectation from the crowd, and it weighs and wears on the players. And teams come in knowing that if they get a draw or if they can sneak a win, then it's just a bonus. And for Austin FC, knowing that Nashville are trying to push into more and more of that playoff picture, that's something that's going to benefit them. Austin FC still has a lot to play for, almost over that playoff line. And what better opponent to do it than an opponent you could potentially face in the playoffs?
Yep, can get over that line officially. Remember, with a victory tomorrow. Nashville have won their last 3, and they've won them by lopsided scorelines too. We saw them beat Colorado on Wednesday night. They too have a quick turnaround, Michael. It's one of those MLS weeks where all teams are facing the same problem, aren't they? It's like, how do you recover and go again just 72 hours later? Because it really does take 72 hours to recover, doesn't it, from a game?
Absolutely. Talking with Dave Tenney and his staff, it's why you have people like that and why they're so important. This is the business end, the meat end of the season, where the depth of your squad is going to be tested. I believe that Austin FC have a deeper squad than Nashville. It shows in the numbers and shows in the goal contributions, but now it has to show in the execution of whoever is called upon in a short turnaround come Saturday night.
Yeah. Have a lot of almost iconic American players in their alignment. Dax McCarty and Walker Zimmerman. You start with them. Dave Romney is another very good centre back. Joe Willis in goal. CJ Sapong. I know someone you're very familiar with. Former teammate of yours, playing alongside Mukhtar.
I think CJ Sapong, I think the world of him. He's a good friend and a good guy, first and foremost. And he's rediscovered himself at Nashville. When he played at Philadelphia Union, one of his last seasons there, he made the U.S. national team, physically gifted, and he's figured it out. This Nashville team reminds me a bit of Gary Smith's Colorado Rapids team, where they had a wily veteran midfielder captain in the middle of the park, and Pablo Mastroeni, a player Josh Wolf is very familiar with during his time with the U.S. men's national team. Dax McCarty, in there as well. And it's an MLS veteran team that has a special player as a second striker in Hani Mukhtar.
So, Driussi against Mukhtar. Very different players, Michael. They're very, very similar statistics, very, very similar importance to the two teams. A lot of eyes will be on them tomorrow. What are you expecting? Because it's Mukhtar, I think, is how he has gone is how Nashville has gone this year. And maybe they can say the same about us and Driussi. But to me, we think we have more goal-scoring threats other than Sebastian Driussi. I look at our stats, and that definitely backs up that case. Not quite the same for Nashville. They need Mukhtar to produce, don't they?
And I think that's what the game, and that could be their undoing in a game like this. I think Josh Wolf and his staff will have zeroed in on Hani Mukhtar. It shows in the stats. He can't stop scoring because Nashville are so dependent on him to score. For Austin FC, the fact that Diego Fagundez is getting back into form in the last 2 months, Ethan Finley putting a brilliant display, getting and testing vertical lines with vertical runs and testing back lines. Rigoni, the excitement about that, players getting healthy, I think that could turn the tide for Austin FC tomorrow night.
Finley looked fabulous, didn't he, on Wednesday? That first 30, 45 minutes. And you got to love it because he's giving Josh the sort of headache any coach likes to have. It's like, well, how do I change what has been working? You know,
competition has been important to Austin FC. We saw that with Maxi Ruti and Danny Houston. Yeah. Danny Houston coming off the bench, really pushing Maxi to the fold, and Maxi responds with 2 goals against LAFC, teeming with confidence after that. So I've been there as a player where you relish competition, and as coaches, it's where you want to be towards the end of the season, knowing that players are in it, the mentality of players want to play, and now you have the flexibility of putting whoever you need to on the field, given freshness, given rotation, given the schedule demands, and they will perform.
Yeah. Nice little statistical nugget that our team came out with. Fantastic. Key against Nashville, maybe scoring early. You look at their last 11 games, when they've conceded a goal in the opening half an hour 5 times, they went winless in those games. In the other 6, where they didn't concede in the first half an hour, they went unbeaten. So it's all about can you strike early against this Nashville team, and they may not recover if you do.
And that's a very important stat because coming into tomorrow, Nashville would have seen that there was a weather delay and they're playing at home. They need to win. Both teams need to win, but they need to win, especially being at home, and they will bring the energy. Josh Wolf talked to us about it just moments ago of the most important thing starting that game is Austin FC matching Nashville's energy and really grinding it out when need be, because the soccer will take over. The longer the game goes on, Austin FC have enough pieces who can come off the bench to change and win the game,
which they've done many, many times on the road already this year, going to Geodis Park for the very first time. But Austin's road record, we know all about it. It's officially now the second best record in the league. Those pesky New York Red Bulls went and won a game in Montreal just to nip ahead of us, but it's very tight. We still have an opportunity. We've got 3 road games left. 2 of them in Cascadia on turf against Seattle and Vancouver after this Nashville game. If we win 2 out of those 3 and get to 10 road wins for the season, that would equal the single season record for MLS since 2000. We always have to add that little proviso in there. So, but that really would be something, isn't it? I mean, if we're already like on record-breaking pace, but if we could actually match that record, 2 wins out of 3, can we do it on the road?
I think so. The team has proven that being on the road is a place of comfort. Being on the road is a place of determination. And talking with Ethan Finley before the team left, Ethan said, "Hey, we're on the road again." Well, I feel confident. So there's just a confidence in the body of work that the team can look back on and really rely on when they go on the road. They have that warrior mentality. There's an even deeper togetherness, I believe, about this team when they're on the road.
Yeah. And you look at some of the individual stats we produced on the road. Driussi, 7 of his goals, 3 of his assists away from home. How about Fagundez? 4 of his 6 goals have been on the road. 5 of his 12 assists have been on the road. So he's actually producing just as much away from home as he does at home.
Well, it's all about where it started.
Yeah.
His first goal in club history came on the road.
Right.
Diego Fagundez has that mentality of just, you know what? I'm going to go against all odds and get it done in your own backyard. And hopefully tomorrow night he will bring his lunch pail and the rest of the team because they're going to need it.
Yeah. Let us, without any further ado, bring you the Lahoud mood, which is, your mood has been through some peaks and troughs already this packed week. I wonder where is left to go on the Saturday night edition of the Lahoud Mood.
Well, as we always say on Matchday -1, it's always the pre-mood, but there's nothing short about this mood. The mood is resilience and resilient, for lack of a better word. And for Austin FC to have the resilience to get 3 points and get a positive result, get into the playoffs, they'll have to do these 2 things. Premood edition as always. Number one, set pieces. I said it last game, and it was a big talking point. Nashville is very good on set pieces. They have big bodies, Walker Zimmerman, Dave Romney, whoever they put in their back line, they're very good at recycling in second phases. Austin FC, equally as good, if not better, statistically. Whoever is the team that gets the better of the opponent on set pieces sets themselves up well to win the game. Second, patience. When you've played a game on Wednesday night, when you don't get the result, and you go on the road against a team that is very good defensively, that wants to take away the middle of the park, you have to move the ball side to side and be patient for those openings to open up. And when they do, get at them and just be so efficient, be effective in front of goal.
Yes, indeed. Let's see if Austin can be effective in front of goal. Hasn't been a problem on the road this season so far. Remember, they haven't been shut out since the trip to Portland, which was way back in early March. It's been a long time since we've come into a game, Michael, where Austin have not been the top scorers in the league. They were just nudged out of first place on Wednesday night by that Philadelphia Union team who keep on scoring 6 a game. I mean, they've somehow caught up to us. We're only 2 behind, so a chance to redress the balance tomorrow night.
It's amazing what happens as you play DC. Just kidding. But a lot of respect for Jim Curtin and the Philadelphia Union, and they're catching form at the right time. But Josh Wolf told us this. He said, the outside noise is one thing, but we have to continue focusing on what's ahead of us. It's game by game. That's how they got here. That's how they continue in this phase and form that they're in, and that's how they'll get to the playoffs. And then after that, it's also game by game, and anything can happen.
Yeah. And this, just a final thing on the back of your mood, again on Driussi. We highlighted this in the pregame show before the Timbers, and we will continue to highlight it. It is now 11 games in a row that Driussi has had a goal contribution. And by that, we mean either a goal or assist. Those records are kept, and he's in some very elite company. He's already in the top 3 in the league, league history, that is, in terms of producing consecutive games with goal contributions. One more will tie him with the Atomic Ant, Sebastian Driussi from Toronto, who did it 12 times in 2018. The all-time leader in the clubhouse is Joseph Martinez, with 15 games in a row, and they were all goals, by the way. He didn't produce a single assist, but all goals, and that was in their 2018 season. That's right.
Well, another common thing about those two, and talk about elite company, there is a way you spell both of their names. It's called MVP.
Yes.
2 MVP holders in that conversation. Can Sebastian Driussi continue? I think if he continues to pass the other Sebastian, Giovinco, and inch closer to Joseph Martinez, then there's no doubt.
It is amazing, isn't it? It really could be. This MVP battle could come down to these 2 regular season games against each other. So it's all set up.
Oh, that's where you want to be if you're Sebastian Driussi, and going toe-to-toe with Nashville in a short span and going toe-to-toe with your nearest opponent for that MVP race. But Sebastian Driussi is a team player, and he will be focused on the 3 points. That's what matters most, and then everything else is to play for.
Let's finish with a moment of gratitude, and how could it not be the moment to give our thanks to the amazing Austin FC fans at Q2 Stadium. I mean, it's remarkable, Michael, that we've gone this far into the history of the stadium without a weather delay. But this was it. It was the first time on Wednesday that the kickoff has been delayed. And we didn't know how long we were going to have to wait around. Nobody knew at that time. And the thought was it was a weeknight, it was a school night. People were going to start drifting away the longer it went on. Not a bit of it. It was amazing how many people stuck around. And not only that, the noise they continued to make while we were waiting, Michael. It kept us going.
The Austin FC fans, they are near and dear to our hearts, and I have flashbacks to the tone being set in this very matchup, Nashville Day, where they termed it. You and I were in downtown Nashville, and it was the musical, which hopefully the musical for tomorrow night will be Driussi on Broadway, Driussi down Broadway, hopefully. But watching Austin FC fans march across that bridge to the stadium, I've never seen anything like it. It was an invasion of Verde and Black, and at Q2 Stadium, they have been the soundtrack, they have been the heart and soul of the stadium, of this team. And talking with players today, they were in awe. They said, I think Nick Lima said it best. He goes, man, typically after lightning or weather delays, fans go home. But to see our fans, we have so much respect for what they bring, and they are the 12th man for Austin FC.
And you could see it in their faces and their voices this morning. They were just gutted. They weren't able to reward that with the victory on Wednesday night. I think the gratitude also extends to the concession stands who did some extra business for an hour and a half or 2 hours at Q2 Stadium. They were probably very happy everyone stuck around too.
Hey, always a shout out to the Oak Club Collective.
Yes, indeed. So terrific support as always. Thanks so much for that on Wednesday night. 2 road games in a row before we get to do it all again at Q2 for another midweek game coming up against RSL. But hope you can join us for full coverage of the Nashville Austin game tomorrow. We are on the CW. We will have a pre-game show starting at 7 p.m. Myself, Michael, Roger Valdivieso, Sonny Guadarrama from Q2 Stadium. And then the game at 7:30. Very special first meeting of the year between these two.
I can't wait. It's always good to be back. And the thing about having a game in a short amount of time, hey, next game mentality.
Yeah, exactly. On we go. Thanks, guys, for watching Matchday -1. And we will talk to you tomorrow.